Welcome back to the Things We Know. I'm Carey Morin.
And I'm Lisa Callahan.
And today, oh my gosh, we're so thrilled. We're here with a very special guest who happens to be not only an incredibly important mentor to both of us, but also one of the people, probably the person who inspired us to start this podcast. This is the incomparable Carey Peters.
Hello, everybody.
Yay. So you take a sip of something, sit back for a second, because I want to tell everyone just a few of the many accomplishments of Carey Peters. You are the co-founder of Empowered Education. It's a platform for world-class health, nutrition, and coaching education. You played a key role in founding or co-founding, I guess. You've founded or co-founded 6 businesses. And you've taken them from startup to revenues totaling over 200 million. Dang. Along with your co-founder, Stacey Morgenstern, you created the top-notch coach education company, Health Coach Institute, training over 36,000 health and life coaches in over 100 countries, probably more by now. Yeah.
Which is actually where Carey Morin and I met as coworkers through HCI. And we trained grad students there. And that's also where we both got our coach training.
Yeah.
So this is so exciting for me.
Yeah. Thank you.
You
Carey.
birthed me, Carey.
Yeah.
Yes. Should I make a joke about tearing, or is that
I mean, if you've listened to the pod, you know all things are everything's valid here. So it's totally good.
Yeah.
So Carey has guest starred in 25 episodes of the Yahoo web series Reluctantly Healthy. I love that. Hosted by actress Judy Greer. She's been featured in Forbes magazine, New York Magazine, Fitness Magazine, the Chicago Tribune, Huffington Post, and more. Carey Peters advises a small number of fellow 7 to 8 figure impact-driven female founders using her proprietary 7 Levers of Scale framework. This is a lot. This is so impressive. Distilled from her 17 years of successful entrepreneurship, the 7 Levers of Scale help founders discover hidden levers in their business that creates the fastest path to scale. Currently based in Chicago, Carey holds a BFA in acting from DePaul University. She lives with her husband and beautiful 7-year-old daughter. And outside of work, Carey enjoys theater, music, art, and stand-up comedy.
And again, this isn't even an exhaustive list, but we have to save time for questions. So Carey, I'm curious, when you hear just even some of your accomplishments so far in this life of yours, what's the most fun thing that you hear retold about you, or surprising?
I just can't believe any of this, to be honest. You know, like when you mentioned DePaul University and the Bachelor of Fine Arts, I mean, theater was my whole life. That's what I imagined that I would be doing forever. I was going to marry another actor or another artist, you know, and we were going to be an art power couple. And I was going to be an artist forever and ever. And I honestly could never have imagined. I mean, I never made more than $50,000 as an actor, which, hey, listen, that's a lot of money to make as an actor. Like that's like percent of actors make any money, you know? So I really am proud of my career, but honestly, this is all pretty shocking to be truthful. That's like one part of my brain. The other part of my brain is like, wow, I don't feel anywhere near as accomplished as I should, given what's being said. It's there in my mind. It's like, that's not even enough. And I don't mean enough in like, I'm not enough. I mean enough in like, there's more. Do you know there's something? And I don't know quite what it is, but I know it's there and it will unfold at some point.
Well, you're the one that taught us we don't need to know the how. So it's perfect.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just keep taking steps forward and going, well, at some point it will be revealed to me and then I will take action on whatever it is. And in the meantime, just trying to, you know, I guess serve as best as I can, no matter the circumstances, and try to do better today than I did yesterday. And, you know, forgive myself for all the mistakes I've made and all the things that haven't been perfect, and focus on, like, even if I've lost some battles, what's the war that I'm winning? You know what I mean?
I like that.
I love that. Well, we have been picturing having you on here since the pod was born. We were discussing this a little bit previous to starting to record. We mentioned this on the Origin pod, but we didn't name you by name at the time. This is actually the beginnings of this podcast in the version of a retreat. Sort of started in January of 2022. So, Carey, you remember this. The three of us were on stage. You were interviewing us around networking, and then we went off mic so that the students that were at the retreat could do some work. And do you remember, I said you looked beautiful. And do you remember what you said?
I don't know. Probably something about my jaws sagging to the floor. That was that's my
you said, you asked, you go, what is happening?
Yeah.
To my face.
That's what you said.
Yes.
Yeah, you leaned down and you just went, I don't know what's happening. I don't understand what my body's doing. I don't understand how I feel. I'm paraphrasing, but I remember getting the sense of you were like, I kind of want to burn shit down. And Carey Morin and I were like, oh, girl, we got you. So we're like sort of past that, and at the time, I don't think you realized that we were as old as we were, but we're both, I'm 53, almost 54. Carey just turned 54. And we were like, we've been there and we're here to tell you it gets better.
It does. And I think we even said, and don't worry, there's drinks here, which at first was our first name.
And I said, oh my God, that is so amazing. And there's drinks here. For women of a certain age who have no fucks to give, and there's drinks. That was the subtitle.
You are welcome to join us when you're ready.
Yes.
That's right. And Stacy and I both screamed. We were laughing so hard. Like, yeah, I think I have no fucks to give. It's a weird tunnel that you're in on the way to, I'm 40. I turned 48 in November. So I feel like it's a bizarre tunnel on the way to 50. I mean, what's a number? But it is like a milestone that feels significant. You really are going to have significant physical changes that are going to occur. And it's disorienting. Like that's, I think, why I said to you both, what is happening? I don't know what is happening. And in the middle of that, you guys both have children. My mind is so young.
Yeah.
So it's weird that I'm like headed to 50, but I have this little kid who's 7. So it's a very weird, like, I feel like I should be in my 30s or something. Not like it's wrong to have a child older. That's not what I mean. I just mean it's like a weird, it just messes with me, I guess, from a.
Yeah, I wondered about that because you're right. Like Carey and I, both of our youngest are 16, or Miles, I think, just turned 17. But so we're on this verge of truly having some different freedom than you have, even though you're only 5-6 years younger than us. So I wondered about that being part of the sort of topsy-turvy thoughts in your brain.
It's weird. And I don't know if you guys had this experience, but honestly, from the day my daughter was born, I feel like life has been upside down.
Yes.
100%. Yep. Times 2 for Lisa, times 3 for me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you guys might have been a little younger than when you had your because I was 41. So I didn't quite understand at 41. Now, when I look back, I'm like, oh, I was so young. Because you're still far enough from 50 that you don't get it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
Yep.
I really didn't get it. But I really haven't been able to, it's been very hard to get my footing since having her, because there's it's not like you can, before I had her in the evenings or on the weekends, I might like have so much downtime that I could think, I could rest, I could journal, I could, just have spaciousness and time to sort of reconfigure my world and my mind or my heart or my soul. And now with her, it's just like, it's just so nonstop. So you don't really, you have to like work hard to get that alone time, to get a sense of like who you are or where you are in space or what's happening to your life. I swear to God, I feel like she was born. I was horribly sick for 3 years. took a good, maybe by year 4 where I just started to recover. Then my husband and I had to deal with the fallout of like horrible illness and all the stress and difficulty that we never addressed because it was just getting through the day. I don't know if you all had that experience.
Oh yeah.
So then it was like he and I are at each other's throats and trying to like, I hope I'm not, Andrew, if you're listening to this. I love you. It all worked out. You know, we got lucky. But it was sort of like, it took us a couple of years. So it's almost like I kind of woke up and she was 7 and I was 48.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some ways that having younger kids keeps you young in certain ways. And in other ways, you kind of just had a compressed version of, because you have all this stuff happening for women, right? You're teaching and a role model for women older and younger than you, which we'll get into because that's fascinating, right? And you're having that experience of having to sit back and use the tools that you teach everyone else about self-care, self-love, like health, and how to take care of yourself and have boundaries when you love someone so much and they just turned your world upside down. How do you do that, right? And so from where we've sat, if you hadn't shared it, and it's been such a gift that you share your struggle, if you hadn't shared it, it looked really graceful to us because,
oh my God,
because of the tools that you've taught us and that you share openly and that you walk yourself through. To us, it was like, wow, yeah, if you're, at any age, if you're going to have a child, you gotta be kind to yourself. You got to walk yourself through this and you got to not lose yourself.
I really am grateful to you for saying that, because most certainly one of the challenging things about all of this happening while Health Coach Institute was building is that you are supposed to be this role model and this way. And I often felt like I am failing miserably at most everything, not only being a parent, being a wife, a household, which is like, I'm terrible at most things domestic, really and truly sad.
Too.
Okay, well, I'm not the only one, but it's like, wow, these are useful skills to have when you have a kid. I wish I had them. So I felt like I was often failing at using the things that I taught or I think that what I look back and can understand now and forgive myself for is that the stress was so overwhelming. It was so overloading. There was sometimes you just have to stumble through things.
It's like, didn't I say that today on something, Lisa? Just let it suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just have to let things suck.
And so as much as you were a role model to us, both as students, and then of course, as we said, we work there too. I think the biggest role model you were was being honest and sharing all of that. And I'm not going to go too deep in the weeds of coaching the students, but I use that as an example to our students all the time when they come from that space of who am I to? And I say, if Carey had fallen down that path, we wouldn't be here today. HCI wouldn't exist if Carey had done who am I to, because she didn't feel enough. And every time I say it to a student, they're just like it just releases everything. So I think to me, that was one of your biggest impacts as far as being a role model for younger and older, because we have students that are younger than you, and we have a lot of students that are Carey and I's age.
Yeah. And I feel like you've done that all along because I go back to where before you had kids, before you were married, I think is where I, was coming to events that you were putting on. And back then you were sharing what it was like to just be in that place of enough. I'm tired of scraping by and like not getting where I want to get. I am worth it. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to kick ass in my business. Right. So you would share those struggles. And as someone chapters ahead in the same book, right? Like, I'm still on this journey, but here's how I figured it out. And then I don't think, I wasn't working for HCI. I was out in the world building my business. So I wasn't there right around the time you were getting married and having kids. But not long after, when I came to work for HCI, there you were sharing that story so poignantly. And Lisa, and I know how many people that helped, because we get to talk to them all the time, right? So Yeah, that was incredible. The body image journey, the journey with your health, the journey with adjusting to all of it, and also still wanting something for yourself. What an inspiration.
Gosh, you guys, you're gonna make me cry. You're really inspiring me, because some days I'm like, oh, I'm just not doing it. I think that the thing that I'm taking away from what you're saying is the importance of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt like I did not like in the coach space. I don't like gurudom,
Mm-hmm.
where somebody like, follows somebody and they're on a pedestal and they've figured everything out. Becoming successful in a business does not like heal your wounds.
Nope.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make you this like bulletproof, superhuman religious figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the more you see behind the scenes of people who are successful, they're struggling just like everybody else, because that's that's the human condition. And just when you have things in order, life has its way with you. I mean, nobody escapes the trials and tribulations of being human. And so I would just credit a mentor of mine, Colette Barron-Reed, for really modeling for me that kind of honesty and vulnerability. She would tell stories about how she was gang raped, or her, addiction, and her 12-step program, her family. And honestly, I remember the first time I heard her speak, my jaw fell on the floor, because I was like, I'm sorry, are you telling me this shit right now? You know what I mean? Like, are you saying all this in front of people? And I couldn't believe that she was so honest and open. And even still, I looked up to her, and I still do to this day, look up to her so much. It was almost like the more honest she was, the more she showed her flaws and vulnerabilities and challenges and difficulties, the more I was just like wowed by her.
Mm-hmm.
I think honesty is inspiring. I really do.
Well, this is such good news. This is such good news, because I just said to Lisa the other day, I'm finally no longer at a place where like I can't be a success when I'm a hot mess. And with 3 kids, you're just gonna feel like a hot mess. And then listening to you, it's like, no, you can be a hot mess and have success. Not that you ever come off like a hot mess, but it is a great message to me that I can kick ass and also trip over things, and have the dogs bark and have a messy house. It's all good.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Can we just for a second with the clutter and the children?
Yeah.
It is so demoralizing to organize like a cabinet or to clean out a basement. And that feeling is like, oh, this is so great, because 10 minutes later it's destroyed.
Yep.
But the good news, again, it changes. So I am finally at a place for the first time ever. My son is gone. My daughter's still here, but we moved into a new apartment over the summer, and it stays clean because my daughter's pretty clean. I know, right? It's glorious. And I love Liam, and he listens to this pod. So I love you, Liam. But literally the minute he left, everything got clean again. It was awesome.
Cue the angels singing.
Yeah. I mean, I think thank you for saying the thing about vulnerability. I know obviously we all love Brene Brown. She talks a lot about that. And it's funny because it is one of the things, when we started this, we already referenced it. We thought this pod was going to be for women of a certain age. We thought we were helping women in their 40s, 50s and beyond realize that the best is not behind them. And lo and behold, we have a ton of younger women listening. Yeah, and it's that's, I think, been the most mind-blowing thing. And I'm going to reference literally, I think my favorite review so far, which is from Liam's girlfriend, Irina. So she's 20. She's not even 21. She is by far our biggest fan. For sure. And her review to us, it was longer than this, but my favorite part was she said she listens to a lot of podcasts, and she's mainly obviously listening to women in their 20s and, somewhere in their 20s. She said, listening to our pod was so inspiring because to hear Carey and I talk about life is great at 50 and beyond. She said, it's so inspiring because the internet loves to treat any woman older than 30 as if she were a grandma seconds away from turning into ash, which is my favorite review ever. And she's right. And so she's listening to this. And this is what we're hearing a lot of. the younger women are listening to this as to see it as a roadmap, you know? So I love that sort of aspect of all of this. So one of the things we were wanting to talk to you about was this idea of role model, because even though you're younger than us, you have definitely been one of our mentors.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that honesty goes across every age, because at every age there's pressures. At every age there's a way in which, you know, Irina, who's 21, and the internet is like, well, you're done at 30. So she's going, I have 9 years left. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pressure. And then in your 30s, it's like, am I having children? Am I not having children? Other people are having children. Am I getting married? Am I doing the right career thing? You know, and then your 40s, some people are like, oh, it just keeps getting better and better. Well, sometimes it actually gets harder. You know, you never know. There's just different pressures and difficulties at every age. So I think the thing that cuts through for any age is honesty, is vulnerability, is talking about the things that are real.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to find. I mean, sometimes you have great friends where you can have the realest of real conversations, but not everybody has that in their life. And we have to kind of put on, you know, personas. We have to put on, we present ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys having this podcast is like, it helps people take the mask off. You don't have to present yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that the beauty is actually in the mess. It's in the realness. It's in the raw.
Yeah. I think that what I learned so many times over the years from you, Carey, and that I try to emulate as a coach, as a mother, as a friend, is like, we're not trying to be anything we're not, or someone better or someone perfect. You know, when I'm coaching your students, I'm saying, you didn't come here to be Carey Peters or Stacey Morgenstern. You came here to be more you. Right. And I think that's what this beautiful, you know, with humor and love, you know, vulnerability ends up conveying is you made it okay to be more me. You know, turn up the volume on myself. And that's what's going to attract everything I want in life, not to, you know, come here and be someone else. And I think that is so inviting to women of all ages. And yeah, I've had a lot of younger women tell me that too, that it just is so nice to hear us normalize and bring humor to the things they find so stressful right now, and to know it's not always going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I think it's so helpful to see we need role models in their 50s and 60s who are like loving themselves, loving life. It's not like they're perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's always challenges and things come up, but just like people who are honest, vulnerable in themselves, you know, moving towards something in life, not in the rote way that we sometimes do. Like, I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to do da, 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 blah, blah, blah. It's more like they're moving toward the things that are really and truly authentic. Because I think the gift of getting to 50, getting beyond 50 is really understanding that you're going to die. You've been lucky so far. Like, we always are on borrowed time. Like, we just don't think about it. Yeah, I didn't think about it anyway, until the numbers start getting higher. And then you may have friends around you that are getting cancer, or you may have people who are having scares or getting sick, or there's something that's changing. And you really start to realize, like, no, for real, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of like, I don't need to push and make my life something that looks cool on the internet that people would be impressed by. But what's the thing that that feels so deeply true to me, that I want to create or experience or whatever. And I think that that's kind of the gift of this time, as we get to that sort of going through the tunnel and figuring out, so, what do I care about now? What really matters to me? Who am I now? What do I want the next chapter to be like? And really getting to ask those questions and get to like an even truer answer.
I love hearing you say this. If anyone's lucky enough to follow you, and if you don't, follow Carey Peters, they know that you are so well read. You read everything. You seem to digest as much as you can out there to really inform how you're living and how you're doing your next thing. And that's the impression you give anyway. I think that that's probably accurate because every time, yes, you eat a lot. And in our training, you introduce a tool that I think is really valuable. I'm curious if it's something you continue to use. It's called the Big Five because you identify five kind of the big buckets, the big areas of our life. And so what you just said made me kind of think about that when you're at this place of where am I now? What's important to me now? You know, could you share a little bit more about that, like how your concept of it and how you use it?
Yeah, well, I learned this from another mentor of mine. I mean, just like you guys, I studied with all coaches and been in training rooms and reading books and doing. So one of my first mentors that really changed my life was Kendall Summerhawk. She is a genius coach, a genius content creator, a wonderful person. I'm deeply, deeply, I would say indebted, but that's not what I mean. I mean, like, you know, someone changes your life and you're like, wow, I just will love you forever, you know? And so she was the first one to tell me about, like, if you look at she didn't call it the Big Five, but it was like the key areas of your life that show you where you're in alignment or not in alignment and with what you're wanting most. And as Stacey and I were sort of developing the content for Become a Health and Life Coach, which probably took 2 years to sort of flesh out, I started looking at, well, what are those big areas? It's career, it's money, it's love, it's spirituality or God. We call it that, which is greater just because everybody has different beliefs. So we use a neutral term. It's health. And then the way I try to use those 5 categories is like every year I try to create a theme for the year. And I used to like choose what my theme was, what's my intention. And then for each one of the Big Five, I would say like, what's top 1 to 3 things I want in these areas in this year that I want to achieve. I think that's what I did before I had my daughter. After my daughter, I was like, oh, I'm not in control of everything. Oh, I can't manifest everything that I want. Oh, okay. And that's not to say we can't go for the things that we want, but I feel like a kid really taught me that you meet life on life's terms.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't, and for many reasons, like there's a million reasons why I'm so glad that I was lucky enough to have her. But one of them is, man, I didn't understand that as a coach. Or when a parent would be like, well, I'm just having trouble, I'd be like, why? You know, I didn't get it. You know what I mean? And I'm exaggerating. Well, I wasn't that much of a dick, but I really didn't understand. I didn't get it. And now I get it. So what I do now is I try to, at the beginning of the year, I try to think about those Big Five, but this is not everybody's cup of tea, but Colette introduced me to numerology. And so I will look at I read life cycles, right? Which you all are familiar with now for me. But I look at, well, what year am I in? Not because I want to limit my options, like only X will happen in a 7-year or only Y will happen, but because I like having a little bit of a cheat sheet as to what might be going on. And interestingly, when I look back over the years and I'll go, oh, what was the previous 7-year? Or what was the previous 7-year before that? I'll be like, oh, I can see. I had a baby in the previous 7-year. I birthed a business. Oh, in the one before that, I birthed so you could see like, oh, this is a time of gestation in some way. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah. So it's not, I don't hold to it super literally, but I do feel like it helps me sort of let go a little bit. My grip on what I want is so tight sometimes, which can be good because I'm going to drive to something, but it's not good because then I'm holding too tight.
Yeah.
And I'm not opening up to like what's meant to unfold or come to me. So it helps me just loosen my grip a little and go, this is the direction I want to go for each one of these areas. I believe I'm being taken there. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but at least I have the clarity about what I want. And then we see what unfolds. And that's how I approach it now every year. So I have a document, like a Google Doc or something. And then I'll occasionally through the year, I'll go back and I'll look and I'll see what's come forward and what's happened and where do I still need to focus. And that's how I approach it now. Try to have a lot more spaciousness and openness to the miracles, instead of whereas before it was me, I'm going to drive, achieve,
I love it. I mean, I learned the Big Five when I was going through my master coach certification with the Health Coach Institute, and I use it every year. And I have the handout, and I do it with my clients all the time now. And it is mind blowing. And then, yes, you did just turn us on to life cycles. And I am a 7 this year. I'm a 7 in a 7 year. So this is gestation year. What? Well, I know.
I was going to say, oh my God, my head's going to explode.
I know. I was reading it the other night in bed, and I was texting Carey like, oh my God. Like I just kept texting going, this book is blowing my mind. So highly recommend Life Cycles for sure. But yeah, the Big Five, life-changing for me to have that roadmap, I think, of what to sort of intuitively realize you want to focus on for the year, and then hold it lightly. Like it does. I don't use it as a to-do list. It just hangs, and I pass it every day. Energetically, it's there, but it's every, like once a quarter, I go look and go, oh yeah, that's already happened. Oh, go look. Oh, look at that. It's very cool. So you said how it changed when you had your daughter. Has it changed as you're moving closer to 50? Are you seeing it change again as she gets older? And, maybe you don't have a ton of control, but you have a little more control, maybe. No?
Yeah, there's like I can see a little light, like, oh, there's drop off play dates. Oh, she had a sleepover. Oh, there's like, she's a little more independent. Oh, there's a friend over and they're playing. By the way, I have never understood why there would be a desk in a kitchen. That has never made sense to me until the kids come over for the play date. And I realize, I just need to be nearby.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like with them. So the desk in the kitchen, now I get it,
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. So I just lost my train of thought because I was thinking about the desk in the kitchen.
That's another thing that happens as you get older. The train goes off the track very quickly.
I think it's funny. When I would see those on house tours, I'd be like, who sits down and just plans meals like that? That's what I thought they like. It was so housewifey, but you're right. It really is. Who can get something done here while kids are nearby, not getting into knives. That's really probably exactly what it is.
100%.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So the question was, has it shifted again, your vision of the Big Five, and how do you incorporate it now as you're getting closer to 50 and it'll morph as you get closer to 60 and 70 and 80?
Yeah, I think as I get closer to 50, I do have this framework also because I am a very anxious person. And so I often think about worst case scenario. So I think about, firstly, if I do have to go tomorrow, if I'm going to die, then when, but if it's like sooner, then is there something undone that I want to do? So I think about that first and foremost. Secondly, I think way more about I always thought about my health, but now I feel like it's like triple down on my health because I got to keep up with this little one. And I can see like, wow, if you don't start getting on top of some of these changes, then it all just goes south real fast. Like everything is falling down. So my health has been a big one. So I would definitely put that. I sometimes put the Big Five in order of importance. And then I think the other thing I think about is I focus so much. I've been really have a tendency toward workaholism. Like I really will disappear into work, and that can be a good and a bad thing. But that was true as an actor. You do 8 shows a week and rehearsal 6 days a week and 10 auditions, and I didn't have a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I can there's a way in which like I felt alive when I was acting, and it translated into this work. Like, oh, I feel alive and I'm perfect when I'm working. But I think now I have to have a life.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I have to I have to be, because again, I think about when I die, what am I going to care about? I'm going to care about the relationships that I have, the experiences that I've had, hopefully a legacy, but even that, yes, it matters, but it's like really comes down to a legacy as relationships, right? I mean, with students, with team, with coaches, with anyone that, I happen to have the honor of interacting with. Those are really the things that are going to matter. And am I going to care? Like my husband is great because, hey, did you guys meet him?
I don't think I've met him.
I did. He brought, in an event I was at, he brought Evie at the end.
That's right.
And I met him very briefly. Super nice guy. I have an Irish husband. He reminded me of my husband. Kind of looked like an Irish guy. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Just a mischievous Irish little.
Yes.
Yes. But he is, one of the reasons I was drawn to him is he's so fun. He loves travel and adventures, and he is going to like intentionally say, we're going to make some memories. We're going to choose some adventure. And then he's going to take a cajillion photos and make a video about it and a photo album. And like, he's thinking about like, what's the special thing that Evie could do with your dad? So she has a memory with your dad. Like, I never think about any of this stuff. He's so much more thoughtful about that. He's so much more fun. And I appreciate that, because I can get so intense and so down the rabbit hole about work. And like I say, there's good and bad to that, but ultimately it's like, when I'm on my deathbed, like I need to have a life. And so one of the things on my yearly big 5 is to find a group of people, it's going to sound silly, but to play euchre with.
That's fun. I love euchre. I learned euchre from my Midwestern friends.
Yep. It's a good Midwestern card game.
Yeah,
that's right. And I'm like, and whether even if it's euchre or whatever, I just want to have a card group. I want to have like a surly, snarky neighborhood card group.
Awesome.
Where we just like it, because a lot of my best friends I've had since I was in grade school and high school and college, but I haven't been very good at making like new adult best friends. Hard to do.
Yeah, it is.
So that's something like I need to cultivate a lot more where I live, because I don't think my best friends are going to be moving near me anytime soon. So I definitely, as I'm moving toward 50, I really need to enjoy life a little bit more.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned legacy, and it's one of the things I freaking love about you, and I love many things, is that you're a female business coach. And I remember you saying that, why do we always go into male business coaches? Like, we need female business coaches. And I think, even if you have workaholic tendencies, I think you make it look fun. And I think you've inspired people to want to make money as women. And I feel like that's a passion of yours, inspiring women into financial freedom. Right. And so if I were to guess one of your legacies that I'm witness to, it's that's one of them. But with everything you just said, I'm curious, if you were grinding away before and you really loved making that impact for yourself and others, has your definition of wealth or its importance changed for you, or does it change kind of looking into the future? Because you don't seem to be slowing down. You're doing some pretty cool things. So just curious.
That's such a great question. I mean, there's so many forms of wealth. I think spacious. I got this plate when I graduated from high school. I don't know if you guys said, my parents had a little like high school graduation party for me with all their friends, and all the parents did that for all the kids. And one of their friends gave me this like pewter-ish kind of plate that said health, wealth, love, and the time to enjoy them.
Ooh, I love that.
yeah. And I kept that plate. I think I still have it packed away. And I realized like, I'm like, oh, this is all there is. Like, this is what it is. Health, wealth, love, and the time to enjoy them. And that wealth is like certainly financial, but also wealth of time and spaciousness, wealth of love, abundance of relationships, a wealth of like loving where you live. Like there's so many definitions of that. And I think for a long time, my drive to make a lot of money came from a fairly dysfunctional place. On the one hand, it was functional because I saw situations, whether it was in my family or just people I knew, where women were stuck in relationships that they weren't happy with, but they couldn't leave because of finances. And I really didn't like that. I didn't like this way in which, I mean, I don't know, you guys, it's like, what was it, 1973 that we got the right to have our own credit cards?
Yep.
You know, there's like a collective cellular memory, I think, in all of us that like we're not our own people. We're owned, or we have to ask permission, or we don't get to, or we, you know. And my mom, I was born in 74. So my mom was like, and she was 22 when she had me. She was very young. So she was kind of on that edge of like women having careers versus staying home. There was like a split almost that happened, not totally, but there were a lot more women in the workplace.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't, it seemed to me like what I want when it comes to money is just options. I just want choice is when it comes down to it. I just don't want to be stuck in a situation, whether it's a relationship or a health situation or a whatever, because finances are an issue. There was a lot of wealth in my extended family, but there's also a lot of mental illness. And that made it very, very tricky. And money was kind of used as a manipulative tool. And it was sort of, there was a lot of destructive, dysfunctional things that resulted in a family that kind of destroyed relationships. And I didn't want to be beholden to that family money either. So I think that the functional part is like, hey, I want choice and independence, and that's great. And women should be able to have that. The dysfunctional part was like a big fuck you to my family.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Or anyone who was like, I had to, you know, answer to in order to get money. And that pattern has, of course, been repeated in a number of ways, which we can talk about in years to come. We'll do another podcast and I can give you all kinds of more detail about that. But that was I remember when we had you guys were witness, like a real difficult point in our business, where I really was just utterly like devastated. And I went to my doctor, my psychiatrist who helped me get better when I had postpartum. And I was telling him what was going on. And I said, I'm just devastated. I don't know what's happening. He goes, well, of course you are. That was your fuck you money. I was like, that's why they pay you the big bucks. It was my fuck you money. That's right. And so he goes, you're feeling unmoored because how are you going to say fuck you? You're going to be stuck in the toxic eddy, right? And you'll never get out. And that's what it feels like to you. That's not true. So I think part of getting to 50 has been sort of understanding that shifting. What is the more functional definition of wealth and success? If I didn't have to say fuck you, if I wasn't beholden to something that I felt was toxic, then what would I want? Do I have to drive to make a $1 billion business? Maybe not, you know?
Yeah.
Does a part of me want to do that? Oh, absolutely.
Love it.
But do I have to in order for my survival? Do you know, that's the wounded part of me.
And I take like a light exception with it. He's saying the fuck you part was the dysfunctional part, because I mean, historically, women have had to do something to get money from men, right? And maybe it's not men, it's family in your case, but there is something very functional and healthy about fuck you and fuck you money, right? And so I think that whatever it is for you, it still translates to others. Like you can, I mean, you've said this before, you can lose your whole business and rebuild it with relationships. You can lose what you thought, was something you created and rebuild it because you have the tools and you know that you're worth it, and that there's a reason you want it. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. Even though you see it that way, I still see it as really helpful for all women to see that they can get some fuck you money.
I mean, a little anger is healthy.
I think so.
Always.
I think so.
A little anger is pretty healthy. So I do agree with you. And I do think there is some, there's got to be a bit of overcorrection.
Totally.
It's almost like, well, when you hold an entire half of society down for eons, well, then we're going to go the other way and be enraged for a while. I mean, any group that has been marginalized is going to have that, where it's just the race about, So I agree with you in that it's not like 100% bad in a way to want fuck you money. And by the way, I think should that be the title of my next offering?
Yeah.
Fuck you money.
Yes, write that down. Put that on your idea book.
I love it. But then I also gravitate to this other part, because I agree. I actually have a affirmation that it's a 4-parter, but the last one was thank you for my infinite prosperity. And every time I say it, I stop myself and then sort of in my brain go, and my prosperity is not just in money. It's in friends, it's in relationship, it's in a job that I love. I try to look at prosperity in a big umbrella, and wealth is just part of it. And that also feels freeing to me, because I don't feel attached to any one part of it. Really, again, that idea of I don't need to know the how. If I just believe I have infinite prosperity, sometimes it's going to be higher in relationships, sometimes it's going to be higher in money. And it just feels lighter, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Well, and ultimately, isn't that the experience you want anyway? If someone's wanting, I mean, it's totally fine to want more money, but sometimes what we're really wanting is just that feeling, like the feeling that you just described.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the idea of choice, because I mean, that's ultimately what every human being wants. They just want choice. They feel
want choices.
Yeah.
And listen, keep in mind, the second time I'm like very anxious person. So I think about worst case scenario all the time. And so when my mind, for me, they go like, I want to make sure I'm safe. Money is a vehicle to do that. Now, I love like what you just mentioned, Lisa, the infinite prosperity and all that. And sometimes I'm 100% on that vibe. And then other times my anxious brain takes over.
Sure.
But so there's like I'm almost wanting an abundance of safety. Well, the reality is money doesn't make you safe either. Right. You can't get 100% safety from money.
Right.
But I do think that, you can have the experience of abundance and plenty, and you can have the level of money that helps you feel like you're able to have the things you need and want most.
Yeah. I would love to have you back just to talk about money, because I have to say, and I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole of this, but I will say without, and I may have told you this before, but my relationship with money got healed from you. You started all of that at a retreat. Oh yeah. Doing the money meditation changed everything for me. And so we will definitely have to have you back and just talk about money, because I know so many people, I work with this with my clients all the time. I use the money meditation with my clients all the time.
Me too. Very often. And that's the ripple effect of your legacy. Yeah. While you're focused on where you go next and with Evie and all that, the ripples for years of what you've been helping people heal is still out there. And that's, I think that's an entire topic, just women and wealth and, and
redefining. Fuck
redefining.
you, money.
All right.
Yes.
And we never get through a podcast without saying, "Oh, that's a new topic for another pod." So, ta-da, we've done it.
I swear, you guys have some kind of like the creative vibe where I drop into the zone and all of a sudden titles.
Yes,
I love it. And I will say this: we won't quote this one today we'll move to the quote here in a second. But if you've never heard, there's a Charlie XCX song called "What You Think About Me."
Oh, I love that.
It is, and almost the entire song is "Fuck You." It is the best fire up song. And Charlie lives here in Glendale. If I could get in touch with her and have asked her if we could use that for the pod, we use my daughter's music, so I'm okay. I'm obviously happy with that. But that song, it's going to be your new fire up. I promise.
I love it.
What's it called again?
What you think about me, I think.
Yes, and that's the cleanest line from
that is
from
literally the cleanest line. The rest of it, and it is just
like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me.
Yeah,
it's
just
so
wait
good.
till you hear it. You are going to love this.
So
we are all Gen X, and as you know, we always quote some lyrics around during the pod. Carey and I usually pick something that ties, but with guests, we want to ask you what some of your favorites are, and you had two great ones. But they also, when you told them to us, I reflected on, it felt like one was for your younger years and one is more for now. So do you want to share those two songs?
Well, first of all, let me say how perceptive of you. You should try coaching.
You know what? I might think about that. Thanks, Carey.
You might be good at it. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So the first one was Eminem, Lose Yourself. You only got one shot tonight. And I would, in my 30s, I would run on the treadmill at DePaul University gym, like as I was getting ready to move to Los Angeles, which I was terrified to do. I had no money at all. And what am I doing? And that's also when I called off my wedding to Mr. White, who I dearly love to this day. Such a wonderful guy. But that was like psych up, because I'm about to like go hard. And I was riding on top of all of my wounds, all of my challenges, like totally unaddressed eating disorder, like just like that blind
ambition. Yeah,
that blind motion and ambition. I'm not recognizing anything under the surface. I'm just going. And so that was when I was 30. And now I go back to just the most old school, amazing for someone who's a Gen X, which is Prince.
What?
Totally.
Let's Go Crazy.
Love it.
It's the only thing, like something about the purple banana before they put it in the truck. You know what I mean? Like basically before I die, and I'm sorry, this is so morbid. I realize I'm talking about death a lot. But I love that song. Just Let's Go Crazy. This is it. Plus, I think it's got like the greatest guitar solo
ever.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I said to you and the little voice memo was, I also love that Eminem song. And then there's another one I love of his that I used to work out to as well. But it says you only have one shot. And so it made sense to me to know that was your song moving out to LA, because, actresses come out here all the time thinking this is their shot, and
success is your only motherfucking option. Failure's not.
And yet that's exactly the opposite of this pod, right? We're here to tell you, like, not only do you have more than one shot, but you're about to enter a whole new realm of shots when you move into 50s
this
and
is
60s.
so great for younger women.
Yeah.
Because in your 20s and 30s, you think you do only have one shot.
Yes.
And you watch the people around you go, like, they're winning, they got their thing, they're da-da-da-da. If I don't get my shot, it's all a disaster, when it's like, no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I do want to get to some of my favorite lines from that Prince song, but that's just reminds me, because that's a big part of our message, right? Is like, no fucks left. The best is not behind you. And do you believe that? Do you believe that the best is still to come for you with everything, all the great things that we have already covered?
I think that yes, and I cannot lie and tell you that I am not super confronted by the physical changes in my body. Like, that is super confronting. It doesn't mean that I don't believe that I can't feel my best. but it is a mind fuck for me. I'm a very vain person. I'll call myself out on that. So that is a place where I struggle. As far as the best in other ways, most definitely. I actually think, I don't know if you guys are into human design at all.
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
We talked for an hour about it already today.
Yes. Yes, I am. Well, I cannot say that I'm an expert on it. I'm not an expert, but I did have a reading done, and I'm a 6-2. So the 6 apparently, well, it's a role model. Shocker. It's a role model hermit. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense for me. But apparently if you're a 6, then like 0 to 30 is making all kinds of mistakes. I may not be saying this right. So for
I'm laughing only because we literally had this conversation for
I was just saying that to Lisa. Is a 6-2.
Yeah. So this
Lisa, you're a 6-2?
My son.
Peter, her son is. And she said, I'm almost verbatim what you just said. Up until you're 30. It's crazy that you're saying the exact same thing.
Yes.
Does that help you to release worry around what might be going on for him? Or
yes, and it's very timely. So yes, it really helped, and it really helps to know that and see how our designs come together. Because like you, I'm a projector. Yeah.
Lisa, what are you, a generator?
I'm a manifester.
Okay, well, of course you are. Of course you are. Yes.
But I'm a 5-2, so I'm a heretic and a hermit, which is also really fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you who are listening, we are going to do an entire pod on human design. We're going to have our friend Amy Douglas, who is phenomenal at human design. She's going to come on and read Carey and I together, which will be fascinating.
I do want to get back to what you were saying, Carey, but what's interesting is listening to you talk about work. Like, we're projectors. We're not supposed to be doing that. And yet I have the same conditioning where I feel the most alive, the most sexy, the most powerful when I'm work. Like when I'm getting a lot done, I feel amazing. And so using this time of life to really embrace and get more aligned with the guidance, with the internal, with the slowing down and getting richer in these ways is a challenge. So I'm guessing it's got to be true for you too.
Oh, for sure. And the strategy of wait for the invitation, which
and when you're parenting a 6-2, that's hard.
Oh, I can't. I also feel like that is do all kinds of things to be visible so that invitations can come. That's how I see it. But if I do look back, and I also think it's really about like the big things in life, not like every single thing I have to wait for an invitation. But if I look back at the huge, like, for example, Stacy called me. I had been asking people to be business partners. I had been inquiring around. I knew I wanted a partner. I was asking, nobody was saying yes. She calls me and she had, I don't know, 4 words out of her mouth. I was thinking about this thing called holistic. Yes, I'm like screaming. I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, I've been waiting for your goddamn invitation.
And Stacy's a manifester, right? So, I mean, we thought that was interesting that she might.
She's a generator.
Oh, she's a generator. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
She's a generator. But the reason why I think human design is fascinating. I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not seeing it as dogma. I'm not holding everything as like verbatim it must be, but it's kind of like numerology. I just think of it as a cool cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I agree.
What I mean? And if there's something that I can take from it that's valuable or gives me peace, well, why not?
100%.
But in the 6-2 thing of like 0 to 30 is I'm making a whole lot of mistakes. And then 30 to 50 is like, I'm gathering a lot of wisdom. I'm still making a lot of mistakes. And then 50 onward is like, oh, you step into your role as role model and you're able to share your wisdom in a whole different way, in a way that people hear it. And so I think to myself, I actually think that there's something I'm supposed to be doing. There's a conversation that I'm supposed to be having, but I don't remember what it is yet. And I'm not going to know until I get there. I think it's going to unfold. Although now after this conversation, I'm like, maybe it's fuck you money.
I just saw Lisa go like this. And I think I was thinking the same thing, like, dang, Carey, with all you've already given and created and done for so many people that you're moving into your role model phase. I'm so glad that I have a pretty close up seat here.
Yeah, no
that's
kidding.
amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
really
you
cool.
very much. Well, I think it's all been like preparing me, I think. I don't, especially some of the experiences that I never would have wanted, that have been so difficult, that I never would have chosen. It's like every time I'm struggling or something horrible is happening, I'm like, okay, what is this preparing me for in the future? Because something's coming in the future that I need the skills that I'm developing now to help me with that thing that's coming. And so I can only imagine that like something, it's like, I don't know, everything had to happen the way that it did because something is coming.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel. So in answer to your question, yes, I do think in that way, the best is yet to come. I also think that I'm committed to fun.
Good. We're going to hold you to that. We're going to hold you to the fun. We know where you live.
I was going to say, you just got to come here and play cards with me, and then it'll all be okay.
I'm going to be in Chicago in September, so I might
me too.
That's my way up to Wilmette, and
we aren't there at the same time, but we're both going to be in Chicago. That's so funny.
Well, I would love to meet up with both of you separately. We could have a fun. What's the word? What's the French word for meet up in the city? That's my
a tête-à-tête.
Yes, thank you.
I minored in French.
Yeah, it's my perimenopause, or as my daughter now calls it, Carey menopause.
Oh no!
Shoot.
Because I forget so much. I drop shit constantly. I drop things all the time. And every time I drop it, she went, "Oh, that's your Carey menopause." She said it.
That's hilarious.
I love that.
I think I'm now that I can call it that too.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. Here you go, Carey.
So, Carey Morin, do you want to quote, and then I'll move into the question that I don't want to cry on?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun coming up with these questions. I think the quote that we were loving. Well, there's two. I think, especially thinking about what you said, because I look at these other questions and I think it really sounds like you want to stretch yourself with your relationships and like really be present to more friends in your life, because the other things are still important, but that feels. So I was just thinking the line was, if you don't like the world you're living in, take a look around, at least you got friends. I just love that line, but that wasn't the one we were thinking of. We were thinking of, when you call it that shrink in Beverly Hills, the one that taught you everything will be all right. Instead of asking how much of your time is left, ask them how much of your mind, which I think is so good, right? Because we're in perimenopause.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, those are the lines. I wanted to start singing them, but I didn't.
I know, it's so hard to just quote lyrics. It's so hard not to sing them.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like, Carey, for you to rip it out. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And if the elevator tries to break it down.
There you go. Go crazy.
Amazing.
Love it.
Well, so we have had the pleasure, as we've referenced many times here, how much, and I, for those of you who will maybe are watching this on YouTube, or if you are listening to this in the pod and you want to go watch this on YouTube, I mean, I've been shocked, and we've had these conversations before, but I've been shocked at you're shocked when I say, you've impacted me in this way or whatever. Like I think that also speaks to sort of your humility and around the idea that you have no idea how much you've affected people. I mean, we just said, HCI's trained 36,000 coaches, and you and Stacy are, I mean, you're just everything. And so it's, my life is completely changed because I know you. And so thank you. And so we've learned all these powerful coaching questions that we use in working with HCI and certainly with our clients. And so I wanted to ask you one, if I can get it out without crying.
Oh my God.
It's me. It's a totally me thing. I was saying to Carey Morin earlier, you sent a voice message, and listening to it, for me, you were my first. When I went through BHLC, you were the main person. Stacy wasn't really in that course at the time. And so when I just hear your voice and I'm not with you or I don't see you, it just takes me back to 2017 when I was just so excited about my next part of my journey, you know? And so it really is like a little warm hug when I hear your voice. All right. So I'm done gushing. Here's the question. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to create or make true or manifest in your 50s?
If I could wave a magic wand, what would I like to make true or manifest in my 50s? Well, let's disclaimer, like all my family healthy. Like if I could manifest that and make true,
of course,
take that as a given, and myself, that's a given. Honestly, I think fun. I think I have not had nearly enough fun. I have been working way too hard, and I mean like not fun working, sometimes fun, but hard. It's been too fucking hard.
Yeah.
and I want to manifest all the experiences and people and things that feel so fun. That would be the best thing next to health, for sure.
And so it shall be.
I love that. I wish you the fun you bring all of us, because my turn to gush, I want to say that when the pandemic happened, you chose to live coach people every day for a really long time. And like the training that you and Stacey offer through, some people go through it just to receive it, right? Whether or not they become a coach or they use those skills in their work. But I witnessed and then heard from so many people, like how much that got them through that time, just being able to see you live. And you didn't go there because you had it all figured out or it was going really well for you. You were stuck with a small child, beautiful, but like still a small child. And everyone who didn't have small children felt extra badly for people that were, stuck inside with small children. And you made it so human. You made it so accessible to be there. I'm here to coach you. Someone might call for me to wipe her. But let's just keep going. Like you had your humor, you had your humanity, you had your moments of, oh my gosh. And you did it every day. You showed up every day for others. And that, I still can't believe you did that, and you could, and you did it so gracefully and vulnerably. And that impact alone really touched me. So I want to just thank you for that, just that example and that expression of love.
Wow. Thank you so much. That makes me want to cry. That was such a crazy time for everybody,
Unbelievable.
And the only thing I could think is like, I think we just need to be together.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is like, and I love how you say I was serving others, and truthfully, like it was also self-serving in a way, because I needed to be with everybody too. I needed like a focus point every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, if we just have this one focus point, we can be together, we can check in, then all of this external craziness might be survivable,
And it was because of that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
thank you so
right.
much.
I'm so glad that you are willing to come back and talk about wealth and a lot of other things, because there's so much more to say. But for now, if you want to learn more about Carey, please visit her Instagram. She's hilarious as she is beautiful and smart. So she's at Instagram at Carey Peters Official. You can also learn more about the 7 Levers of Scale. So you can go to www.the7leversofscalemasterclass.com. and join our conversation in Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to know what nuggets and pearls of wisdom you got from listening to Carey today. And can't wait to have you back. Thank you. Anything you want to share with people who are listening before we go?
You guys are so great. This has been the best time. I've had the most fun having this conversation with you all. I'm so blown away by both of you. I feel so honored to be able to have been part of your journeys, Carey. I mean, I think it was 2012, maybe, that you
been a long time
around, and Lisa 2017. I mean, what an honor to get to have this like multi-year relationship. And we've gotten to have different kinds of relationships where it's like, student teacher, but now it's like, it's peers.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, wow. That's my takeaway. I know. But the papers.
Yeah. I mean, but really and truly, like, we've gotten to work together. We've gotten to, plan retreats and content. We've got to be standing on stages together. We've got to, have like such fun conversations on a personal level. And I really value both of you. I mean, I just feel like the greatest good fortune of how, I don't know how Stacey and I got hit with the lucky stick with people like you, but that has been one of the absolute best parts of this entire journey, is the caliber and heart of the people that we've been blessed by, whatever, to be able to have in our world. And you two are just a beautiful example of that. I'm just so honored that you asked me. I'm so happy that you're doing this podcast. I can't wait to see it blow up, and I'm going to share it with all of my friends of a certain age and more.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Carey.
So much.
Oh, thank you. It's been our absolute pleasure. Well, that is this week's episode of The Things We Know. And again, we are so proud to have had the opportunity to share someone who has taught and inspired us for years, and I know is going to continue to teach and inspire us for years going forward. So thanks again to Carey Peters for being our very special guest today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.